Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Shantia here. So as you can see, I finally got my camera back. So we are back to the higher quality. All right, so we are gonna do the review for Married at First Sight. This is gonna be for episode 8. So there were a lot of interesting developments in this previous episode, and that is why I decided to do a review today. You know, as opposed to the cluster reviews that I've been doing. So let's go ahead and get started. So starting with Brett and Ryan. So this episode, let me just recap. This episode, the couples brought over their friends. They had a little mixer, a little get together in which they connected with their families, and they had some really good deep conversations, or just some enlightening conversations with their friends and family members about what it is their strengths and weaknesses are, what you might need to learn about them, what's important to apply to your relationship, how they maybe have been before in relationships. So really cool. Okay, so starting with Brett and Ryan. So again, I'm gonna say the same thing. I really like Brett and Ryan together. I think they have a good vibe going on together. As I stated before, I think the only thing that's really gonna get in the way of Brett and Ryan being successful in, you know, leading up to decision day, but also leading up to a long-term marriage and partnership, I think, is Brett being sort of insecure. So I kind of noticed a theme with the guys. So Ryan is kind of, it's taking him time to really feel that, more of that attraction. I think Brett, it almost seems like he feels the attraction, but I'm talking about like the emotional, intimate attraction, the intimate connection, like I want to be with you, you know, like really be with you kind of thing. And I think that probably has to do with the fact that again, I think women often, they take charge of and they drive the emotional intimacy in the relationship. So that means if she's not feeling you, then you're probably like, okay, I'll give you space. So until she's like really allowing him in, that won't be able to happen. That won't be able to progress as far. Brett just seems really cautious, and I think that's fine. I am a cautious person. I think it's fine to be cautious. I just think that make sure you do it with awareness, because you don't want to be coming from a place of being cautious because you're insecure, you're unsure. You want to just be maybe like edging your way in. And I just kind of get this vibe from Brett. Like, it almost feels like she keeps him at an emotional distance sometimes. Like, she just wants him to be at an emotional distance because she doesn't feel quite safe or something like that. Honestly, what Brett's friend said about, you know, if you're, you know, you can give her security, make her feel secure. I'm totally against that. Now, I know that a partner does things to show that the relationship is worth investing in, and you pay attention to those signs. Where I don't agree is I don't think someone should make you feel secure. You should recognize it. You should recognize whether your trust or the security or whatever your belief, your faith in the relationship is worth investing from your perspective. I don't think I don't think they're supposed to do things to to make you trust them. Because I almost feel like that security, you should know already. If you're a secure person, you should just already know what would make, hold on, I'm gonna close my window. So as I was saying, with regards to Brett and Ryan's relationship, I don't feel like someone's supposed to make you feel secure. I feel like you should just naturally be a secure person and just recognize whether someone is worth being with or worth investing in. Like, you can never fully trust people or a person because people are finicky. They change their minds all the time. So this person might be a wonderful person right now, and they might make all of these great decisions and have such a good heart, but sometimes they're gonna have off days. So what? Suddenly, if they have an off day, does that mean, oh, I can't trust this person? That's what I mean. Like, I don't like it when people say, well, I'm not a big fan of when people say, oh yeah, just make her feel secure. No, she should know. She should recognize, she should feel secure in herself. And then she should recognize whether that person deserves her attention. I really want to emphasize, like, you should already feel secure within yourself. I'm like, to me, if you need someone to feel secure, that has more to do with you than it has to do with them. Okay? So as far as Ryan goes, I think he's doing a good job. I feel like what I'm picking up from him is he's being cautious, and I feel like men are often very cautious if they can sense you're not really secure in, like, getting into a relationship or being with them. You're not secure on your own, from your equation or part of the relationship. So I think he's just picking up on that, and so he's kind of taking a minute now to be like, is she really into me? Like, am I really feeling it? So I think they're doing a great job. Nonetheless, I think they're both invested, and they feel very, like, realistic about the whole thing. I think some of the couples, like some of the partners, like Johnny or Mirla, I feel like they didn't quite go in with as like realistic expectations of what a marriage looks like, feels like, could be like for them. So Bretton and Ryan are doing good. Let's go ahead and move on to Bao and Johnny. So Bao and Johnny were struggling, or have been struggling. They've been struggling with that connection, and they're just two in their head. Like, Bao's definitely in her head. I think she's trying. What I really like is she's seriously committed. I can feel that. She's saying it. She's not the type of person who minces her words. Like, when she says she's committed, I believe she means it. As far as the emotional part on her side of it, I spoke about this in the previous video. I think she's just very slow to kind of warm up. I personally think she kind of might have issues with, like, really being vulnerable. She doesn't have any issues with being very logically smart, or like, she explains herself so articulately. It's beautiful, but it's like, this is Johnny, and this is your partner. Johnny wants, like, connection. He wants the warmth, and I do give Bao credit because Johnny is so in his feelings. You know, what I enjoy about Johnny, I find it refreshing that he's so open with his emotions, but at the same time, he's so in his head and his feelings about everything. Like, he just overthinks, overanalyzes. He was beating himself up, big time, beating himself up about how he was effing up in the partnership. And I'm like, Johnny, it's not supposed to be easy, you know? And I think that's kind of where expectations meet reality can be kind of hard for people, because in his mind, he does kind of have this fantasy, but I don't think it's that he's being, part of it, maybe there's the unrealisticness to it, but honestly, what I feel like is he's self-sabotaging. Like, he's self-sabotaging himself. He knows that Bao has great qualities, but he's overthinking everything, and he knows it. And on top of that, he's beating himself up about overthinking about everything. So his emotional internal roller coaster is what is self-sabotaging this relationship, because Bao's like, I'm willing to give this a chance. Like, I'm willing to try this with you for the first time, to try something new, and to be uncomfortable and awkward and mess up. And women, I think, more often than not, are also willing to be in conflict. I think a man, especially if they're not mature enough, they're just like, no, I don't want to deal with this. So Bao's committed. I think she just needs to just give a little bit more of that heart, or open her heart up more to the situation. She's opened her mind to it. She's very open-minded and accepting of it, but I think she just needs to open her heart. I need to feel her heart. And I think Johnny really needs to feel that as well. As far as Johnny goes, he's so in his head. He's beating himself up. If I were to, like, connect this psychologically to something, I feel like it definitely has to do with his parents and his upbringing. You know, feeling disconnected to his mom, and then feeling a disconnect from his father, but, like, still wanting so badly to get his father's approval. his father not really participating or being in the family, and his mom maybe not being as affectionate. That's like emotional neglect, right? So that's a kind of like trauma for a child to have to deal with, and then to carry on into adulthood. Now they don't know how to trust their feelings, or they don't know what feelings. And especially when it comes to romantic relationships and partnerships, because that's where you feel the most vulnerable. So all of those insecurities are coming up, and I feel for him, because I see his history, and he's very, very honest, almost to a fault about, and that's what him and Bao have in common, which is great. But he's so honest to a fault about himself and about life and everything, which is great. But it's too much. It's too much in the sense that, like, he just needs to like throw it out the window, throw all of the overthinking out the window. Just trust it. Just try it. Just give it a chance. Give it a chance every day. You know, as opposed to analyzing all of these ins and outs and being like, oh no, okay, oh no, okay. But the skittishness, you know, he's gonna keep doing that until he can find a way to ground himself. I think Bao is trying to be as reassuring as she can, and so we can only hope for the best for them. Moving on to Rachel and Jose. So Rachel and Jose, you know, they're doing great in terms of like connecting with each other on pretty much every level. Where their sort of disconnect is, okay, so I did kind of notice a thing about Jose is that he does like to be particular. He likes to take charge. He's kind of a control freak. And as Rachel said before, what did she do in previous relationships? She would just kind of support, you know, she would get lost in the relationship to the point where she wasn't seeing that this person wasn't committing to her. Now, the difference is Jose is committed to her and does care for her. But where Jose needs to come over to her side is he needs to acknowledge, what would you like? What kind of plants would you like in our garden? Because while, yes, he has a lot of the natural provider attributes, what he's missing is you have to make sure you're harmonizing, you're connecting with your partner all the time. You're considering their input. What do they feel? How do they feel about this? All the time. Checking in about that. Just because you think, oh, I have a great plan, it doesn't mean that's not a partnership. That's not why you get married. It's not, I have a plan and you're going to be a part of my plan. No. This person has their own plan, and that's where Rachel and Jose, that is where their struggle is going to be in the relationship. That's their fight in the relationship, and if they're able to overcome that, they will be able to overcome anything. So the difference in finances and her wanting to vacation, him wanting to save, like he's very kind of rigid about that. So what I've seen in Unfiltered, it seems like he's opened up to that, but hopefully by the end of the show, he would be willing to really consider and also say yes to vacationing and having more fun and being more spontaneous about things. We'll be able to come over to Rachel's side about that, and Rachel, it is Rachel's responsibility. Rachel needs to speak up too. She really needs to speak up. Now she's spoken to his mom about it, and on occasion she's spoken to him about it, but as long as she keeps doing that, she's gonna know whether he's worth staying with or not, because they're both doing great. But again, you don't really get into a partnership for life to be easy, right? This is a whole human being. They have their own interests, and your choices affect them. So you have to think about, okay, I can't just go and do anything out there in the world. Like, my choices affect and impact this person. So I need to really consider what makes them happy. Like, it's not that you're trying to make them happy, but just really take into consideration how they'll feel when you do certain things. So, you know, again, this is kind of classic marriage issues in most marriages where people struggle. So I think if Rachel and Jose can work through that, they're going to be fine. They're doing great. So moving on to Merle and Gill. So I don't really think the two of them are going to end up together, but I do kind of like their vibe together. I think Gill has a really good head on it. I don't mind him bringing up Mirla's closet and how she likes money and all this stuff. He's just very honest and open about things. And Mirla's willing to joke about it, which is great. But I think the reason why he brings it up, even if it's in a joking manner, is because it's really something that is concerning to him. Because he's trying to figure out, okay, you know, we have this amount of time together. We need to figure out, where do we connect? Like, can we make this last? Is this sustainable? Like, he's trying to get to the nitty gritty of, can we do it? So he's doing great. I really wish the experts would have paired him with someone who was more of his counterpart. I think he would have been thriving with someone who was more of a match for him than Mirla, someone who wanted more of what a lifestyle that he wanted. So Gil's doing great. Mirla, I think she's doing good. She's opening up. She's very direct. She's very honest. But again, she's still kind of set in her ways. And I'm kind of getting the sense that Mirla, after her friend, I was shocked. Her friend said that in the 8 to 10 years that he had known her, he's never seen her do PDA or be affectionate with a guy in front of him, I guess. And I'm like, what? Like, you haven't seen her kiss a man? Like, that's, to me, that is very strange. Now, I know we don't all go about doing PDA, but you might just turn and then you'll catch someone because they love each other. Like, it just happens. So I'm starting to get more of the bigger picture about Mirla. She really is very, very, very cautious when it comes to vulnerability. And I think that's kind of where her and Johnny, I think, are the same in the sense. I think they both went into the situation kind of wanting a quick fix. Right? Johnny's like, oh, I'm afraid to really settle down. I've had 100 first dates. Let me just have the experts find me that right person and we'll just kick it. It'll all just kick off from there. And Mirla's like, I don't want to date. Find me a man. Find me my man. We'll get married. Let's do this. Like, very kind of practical about the whole situation. I think she was just so focused on the I don't want to date part. You know, she wasn't really considering the fact that she might be paired with someone who wants different things, someone who she's going to have to compromise with. I'm kind of blown away by the fact that she didn't consider that would be a possibility. I find that really interesting, but I think Mirla really she is conservative. I'm starting to really see that. Like, just the way that she talks, dresses, that is her personality. I don't think she's hiding anything. I think that is exactly how she is. She's cautious. She's direct. It's almost like Capricorn energy to me. It's just like, this is just how I am kind of energy. Honestly, the biggest problem is that I don't think Gil was the right fit. But also, I think the biggest problem for Mirla is that she has vulnerability, I think, issues. Like, being vulnerable with anyone. Men, romantically, in a romantic relationship, I think she has issues with vulnerability and really allowing herself to get close to a man. So there might be some like psychological, or like, you know, maybe it's connected to her father, her relationship with her father, but there may be a reason why. I think she friend zones guys, right? It's easy to be friends with them, right? She had all those guy friends. It's easy to be friends with guys, but when it comes to actually being in a romantic relationship, she's very cautious. The only solution to that, I think, is after the show ends, her and Gil should part ways, and I think she should just go find that partner and just be more open to the possibility of finding someone and that person being out there for her. And, you know, finding someone she just feels really connected to. So she's not shallow. There's a depth to her. It's just that she needs to just open up more and probably find that with someone else who is more compatible with her lifestyle. But I think, here's the thing, I think for someone she really was attracted to and really, really cared about, and really was inspiring to her, and someone she really loved being around, she would be willing to compromise. And I think that's kind of the issue too. The reason why she hasn't been wanting to compromise is she has never felt that connection for which she's wanted to like let go of those, the excess of the materialism. There's nothing wrong with having nice things, but I think she's so focused on things because I don't think she's ever experienced like true love or like that deep love before. And so until she experiences that with someone, she's going to be holding back. She has to keep dating. She has to keep looking to partners or checking out to see which one feels more compatible with her, for her to see, is this my man? Maybe. So moving on to Michaela and Zack. So coming off of the previous episode, Michaela and Zack were starting off from a rocky place to begin with. And after they had their discussion, we found out why. Now, before I get to that, let's go ahead and talk about the interaction with the friends. So the one thing I picked up from her conversation with Zack's friend is Zack's friend started giving her advice before she I almost felt like before she asked for it. It almost felt like unsolicited advice because he was telling her exactly how to approach Zack, how to talk to him, yada, yada, yada. I know this is married at first sight. I know that they're supposed to be helping them through those situations, but I think to some degree, Michaela was supposed to generate that question or generate that inquiry herself. Like she was supposed to kind of be the one to be like, how do you think I could communicate to Zack better? I don't know. I don't remember the conversation starting out that way. It just felt like he kind of gave her unsolicited advice. And I'm saying this because her reaction following thereafter kind of confirmed that for me. Because when you give people unsolicited advice, they don't want to take it. They won't take it. So it's hitting on deaf ears. Okay, so moving on to Zack's experience with Michaela's friends. Now, Zack, he was looking really tense, right? He was looking really tense. Like, he's like, I don't know about this. I don't know about this girl. I don't know. He's giving her that side eye now because he's like, after I saw how she reacted, I'm not really sure that this is going to work for me. And Michaela's friends were like, oh, well, you don't know her. And if she really trusted you, she wouldn't. Okay. Yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. I'm going to say what I said in the previous video. It doesn't matter what someone does to make you angry, to trigger you. Your reaction is your reaction. And I was actually watching this episode with my dad, and he kept saying, Michaela, like for her to have that reaction with someone she barely knows, it's crazy. Like she barely knows him. How do you know you can? So Michaela wasn't thinking about Zack, right? She was just kind of reacting. She was just being Michaela. So now let's move forward to Michaela and Zack's discussion in the kitchen. So Michaela approaches Zack and she's like, I'm so sorry, da 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 da. And Zack's like, he's giving her that side eye. And I was like, I kept pointing to my dad. I'm like, oh, do you see him? Do you see that body language? He ain't, he pulling back. He is pulling back. Because he said he's seen this in previous relationships, which I'm proud of Zack for saying. Because if you do see something, a repetitive behavior or pattern that you've experienced before that didn't feel good, you should recognize that and know and determine whether or not you can handle that in the relationship. What Zack saw was Michaela's shadow side. Now, every person has this shadow side. We all have a dark side. The anger comes out, the intensity of the emotions, like we all have that. But you have to know, what are you willing to put up with? And Zack was almost pretty dang sure that he wasn't really willing to put up with that. He's not willing to put up with that. And Michaela's like, okay, well, I apologize, and you're a beautiful man. Now, she keeps saying, okay, he's a beautiful man. Zack is great. But I don't know, there's something about like her showering him with, now I think she should, like we all should compliment each other, but I feel like it almost feels like, what do you want to call it? I don't know. There's just something about it that feels too attached or too much. There's something about it that feels too much. I'm not like judging it. It just feels like there's something about it. It feels too much, like overcompensating or something like that. Okay, I think this is what it is. So I think Michaela is giving Zack too much credit sometimes about, okay, you're a beautiful man, blah, 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 blah. He does seem like a great guy. No lie. But you still don't know him. I almost feel like this is kind of where her, maybe like a little immaturity, but like the impulsivity about her is kind of really showing up, other than, her reactions. Like she just kind of just goes in, perhaps she's had relationships that have been kind of crazy tornadoes, because she just goes in thinking everything's just going to be great right away. And then it's just all bad. And then all of a sudden everything is just terrible. There's just something about, when she's complimenting Zack and being like, oh, you're so great and beautiful. And, yeah, she did take advantage. But the thing is, I don't think she was really, the thing about Michaela is like, sometimes she just really knows how to word things great. she knows how to present very well. And in fact, at the wedding, she told the parents that she didn't react with force. You know, when she gets angry, she doesn't slam things down. She specifically said she didn't slam things down, which was crazy, because that's exactly what she did. And then she told Zack in the kitchen that it was because she's used to being in relationships where she can't trust them. And Zack's like, you know, really what he's thinking in his head is like, I don't care. I'm uncomfortable. I don't care if that's what you think. I'm uncomfortable around you. Like, he had such bad anxiety, he couldn't eat and didn't even want to stay in the apartment with her. I don't think Michaela is fully taking accountability, but also I think Zack is pulling away almost too much. Now, I understand he is valid in wanting to do that, right? If I saw that kind of reaction from someone, I would be very cautious. And in fact, I would probably, to be honest, I wouldn't even be interested, because I'm not like that. I don't react like that. But most importantly, I don't put up with that, period. I will not put up with that. I can't. I'm not interested. So I'm not going to hold on to something where I'm like, you know, walking on eggshells. I'm not going to walk on eggshells in my life. So I'm just going to make a smart decision and choose to end the relationship. Now, Zack is probably feeling that way, but he's also like, at the same time, we're married. Now, Zack leaving the apartment and saying he didn't want to be at the apartment, I really do feel like he is kind of immature in a sense, because I just really get that boy energy from him sometimes. I think that's the difference between a boy and a man. I think a man, even though they knew Michaela didn't do right, I think a man would have stayed. Whereas I think, now this is probably a mindset. I can't even say a man and a boy. It's like a mindset stage. Or a male. Someone would call it a male. They would say that's a male, not a man. So a man, I think, would have stayed. A male would leave, because they'd be like, I'm uncomfortable. You know, they're just kind of thinking about themselves. And I think Zack is really thinking about himself. Michaela's really thinking about herself. I think Zack is being smart and really taking things into consideration, but I do think he's still a little bit too young to be getting into a marriage, because, you know, the minute conflict shows up, he kind of backs out, right? After Pastor Cal, Michaela said in Unfiltered that they didn't even really have a discussion after that. He just kind of went off and did his own thing. That's the difference between a man and a male. A man would have been like, okay, let's have this difficult discussion. But Zack is kind of giving me a little bit of skittish energy, right? The minute things get hard, he's willing to bounce. Now, I'm not saying that he's wrong for wanting to leave. I'm just saying he's probably not giving it as much effort as he can. He's saying he wants to try it, but I feel like that's just an idea in his head. I think emotionally, he's not invested. And I feel like that has to do with like a mature level. Like, I understand it takes time to connect with people and develop that willingness to be invested in them, but I just feel like he just I just feel like he kind of quit. Now, if I was on the show and I was in this situation, I would give someone a second chance. I would at least give them a second chance. In real life, if I was just dating them, I probably wouldn't give them any more chances, because I would just be like, well, I don't have to, you know. But if we were married, I would be like, of course I'm gonna give you a second chance. We're married. And Michaela was saying that. She's like, Zack, we're married. But no, he's pulling away. You know, he was really, really turned off. He's like, I don't care how beautiful. Now, Michaela was looking spectacular. Her outfit was so cute. But Zack is like, I don't care how cute you look and how much you're apologizing to me. I don't feel safe in this relationship. Now, Zack is sensitive. And sensitive can be both an advantage and disadvantage. So, one, you're more in touch with your feelings. But two, that also means that as soon as something happens and you're triggered or whatever, you shut down or you clam up. And I feel like he's pulling away too much for this marriage. For that, I would give it a second chance. I would be like, okay, I will try to reconnect with you. But he doesn't even want to make that reconnection right away. So someone did mention this, like Michaela got over it quick. Zack didn't, but at the same time, I don't think Michaela has the emotional maturity to understand that this is trauma, and it has nothing to do with, yes, a lack of trust in relationships, but that lack of trust showed up in her past relationships as a result of her sort of being disconnected to herself and not knowing which partners were actually worth investing in. So that is just something you learn. Like, you learn to have a barometer for that, and you learn to read people. Okay. My battery died. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and conclude. So as far as where Michaela and Zack are, I think things are not really heading down a really good trajectory, because in a way, Zack tried to offer Michaela an olive branch. He said, I don't think if I was really honest with you, I don't know if you would like it if I was really honest with you. And Michaela's like, okay, sure, be honest. And he told her how he felt. He's like, I have anxiety. I don't know about this. And Michaela's like, but we're married, but this, but that. What's wrong with you? You know, all this stuff. So that actually was Zack being vulnerable. That was him kind of offering a little bit of an olive branch. Like, that was like a symbolic olive branch. And I think Michaela just missed it. Like, they kind of missed each other, honestly. I think she missed it because that was her opportunity to be like, okay, you know, it's fine if that's how you're feeling. I'm not going to react. But she actually started to get upset right away. So it doesn't really matter what Michaela thinks about how she approaches situations and whether she thinks things through, whether she's being reasonable or not. She does not have the self-awareness to see what she's doing. Because the minute she gets upset, her emotions take over and she has no self-control. So that's a self-awareness thing that she needs to work on. Zack, honestly, some maturity, just a few more years of maturity, and I think he'll be fine. He'll be ready for marriage. But you can tell the difference, I think, between a male / boy and a man. I think a man, they are going to be a little bit more, now I'm talking about in terms of mindset. You can still be much older and still act like a male versus acting like a man. I think a man would just be willing to actually they would have more self-awareness to be like, oh, okay, this is my spouse, this is what they're going through, yada yada. But Zack is so in his own protective energy that he's not seeing Michaela as a wife. He is not seeing her as a wife anymore. He idealizes marriage. He idealizes the idea of marriage, but now that he's in one, and he's in one where he's not crazy about the challenges, that's when you really start to see what are people capable of. Biggest lesson I got out of this episode from Michaela and Zack is when you see someone's shadow side, determine whether you can handle it or not. Whether you can handle someone's anger, their frustration, their low moments will determine how successful your marriage is. If you feel like you can handle it and you can continue to handle it, then you're going to be fine. I know the minute someone starts showing me their dark side, and there's just something about it where I'm just like, I can't, it's not something I'm interested in being a part of. That's pretty much when I've determined whether or not I'm going to continue to see them or hang out with them. I think it's perfectly fine to have standards. I don't go around telling people my standards. I just observe. And I start to see, like, what are some of the qualities about them that I really like, and what are the negative attributes, because we all have them. Am I willing to accept, this person? Maybe I accept people, but am I willing to accept this person in my close circle, in a close, intimate relationship with me, in spite of these shadow side attributes? If I look at the shadow side attributes and I'm like, I don't want to deal with it, that might be a maturity on my part, but it also might be there's something about this person, like this person needs more healing. This person needs to do more inner work, and that is not my job. And you want to make sure you're a match with someone on, I would say, a spiritual level. Because if you're not a match with that person spiritually, if you're not both evolved to a healthy self-awareness and connection with yourself and life, then you guys will falter, for sure. You will struggle. So Or if you're, sometimes you can be a match, right? But the relationship is still chaotic because you're a match. But I know personally, like, I do have certain standards, and, you know, people say, oh, you should feel bad about your high standards or da da da. I'm like, you don't have to go around proclaiming them. Just know them in your heart. Know them in your mind, in your heart, and know what you're willing to allow into your life and not allow. That should be a personal experience. You don't have to go around telling people, I don't like it when you do this. I don't like it when you do that. Well, now you're just triggering everyone. And the whole point of relationships is to cultivate unconditional love. So if you don't find that person who doesn't make you feel like, wow, I really just want to accept them for all that they are, then that's probably not your person. And I think Zack is starting to feel that way about Michaela. It's like, I don't think I can accept all of this. So, yep, that's pretty much my review for Married at First Sight. I hope you guys enjoy that. If you guys are interested in more content from me, then go ahead and like, subscribe, or go ahead and hit the bell notification so you can get more reviews from me about Married at First Sight. And sometimes I do upload spiritual videos about life. This channel is dedicated to helping women live in a way that feels the most natural and aligned. So, I hope you guys have a wonderful day or evening. Thank you. Bye.